I know what you're going to say. Cyril, this movie came out in 2020. Aren't you a bit late to the Mulan remake hate train? Well, yes, but this is my channel. And this movie isn't wine. It doesn't get better with age. So I just wanted to ask a simple thing. Who was this movie made for? By trade, I am an engineer, and it is a basic concept in any industry. Don't throw money at a project unless you can find an audience or make the audience. This is something the guys in suits should have asked before they made this movie. And, well, long afterwards. Your first instinct is to probably say, oh, this movie is made for the people who watched the original Mulan, and that's not an incorrect sentiment to have. Much of the marketing, like the posters you see before you, have tried to emulate the marketing of the animated film. They even brought back Christina Aguilera to sing Reflection. You know, that song she sang for the 90s music video that came with Mulan. Disney, if your intent was to pander to the people who saw Mulan and grew up with it, then I can safely say you failed badly. It's been my sentiment for a long time that when you go from animation to live action, you always have to give something up. That's just the nature of the mediums in play. You need to fill whatever you gave up with something. On a simplified level, adaptations fail when you either take away and don't fill in the gaps, or you take away and fill in the gaps poorly. This movie simultaneously does both. What ended up on the cutting board to begin with? Well, there is Cricket and Mushu. Li Shang was devolved into two characters, which ultimately diluted the role. Oh, and yeah, the entire soundtrack. What fills those gaps is ultimately unsatisfying. I already brought up that Li Shang was devolved into two different characters, which basically dilutes the importance of the role. Mulan spends a great deal of this story in her own head, internally monologuing. She doesn't have Mushu or the cricket to help balance out the cast or the humor. Considering her actress does not act well at all, this has essentially created a single point of failure. You have essentially put the emotional weight of a movie on a single character and a single actress. Mulan as a character is as static as her facial expression throughout the movie. No wonder the witch played by Gong Li is the most popular character. The lack of supporting cast makes Mulan spend most of her time in her head, and that makes the inclusion of a witch sharing scenes with Mulan almost godsend. I cared more for the characters of the 800 than I did for Mulan, and the flat characterization and lack of major focus characters for that movie was its biggest criticism. So who else is this movie for besides those who watched the animated cartoon as kids? Well, little girls you're trying to empower. Oh wait, good luck empowering any little girls here, since you basically told them in the opening of this movie that you need to be born special in order to be equal to the boys. Sorry, Vax Robotics girls, you're only equal to the boys because you were born with divine right. That says nothing about you as a person, the community you worked with or against, or anything else. It is just fate that you are equal to the boys. Somehow, this movie is less empowering than the one in the 90s by saying you need to be born special. In contrast, the 90s one required bitter work and a sharp mind to be successful. Honestly, the bitter work part alone makes it sound more like a Chinese story than a divine right nonsense. But who else is this movie trying to pander to? Chinese people, of course. I am not sure what the guys in suits were thinking here. People have pointed out the cultural inaccuracies with this movie, but on a fundamental level, those inaccuracies can be excused. The animated Mulan film certainly had its moments of cultural inaccuracies in favor of drama, which I find fine since the drama was compelling. If you can't establish a compelling drama to let us ignore the cultural inaccuracies, then you have more than two strikes against you. Not being able to establish drama in a film like this is just pathetic. The Ballad of Mulan is not some obscure poem. It's taught in classrooms all over China, and it's not very long. Even if you didn't go to a school that forced you to memorize the ballad, it's a very popular legend, one that has been retold multiple times. For instance, when I say Sword in the Stone, you probably think King Arthur. When I say crucifixion, you probably think Jesus. That's sort of how China views Mulan. Even if you don't know the details, you know that she is a woman to protect her family, dressed up as a man and served in the army. Remember when I said that the ballad has also been retold many times? Yeah, film is also a way it has been retold, not just literature. and 2020 saw no shortage of Mulan adaptations. That's just sad when the only thing you have going for you is the Disney label. So who's the last audience we're going to pander to? Well, wuxia fans. Did they pander correctly? The action is standard wuxia flair at best, and at worst there is no emphasis on martial arts and an overabundance of choppy editing. This movie utterly fails at even basic levels of enjoyment. If you aren't a good movie, at least give a good illusion of being a good movie, with good fight scenes and editing. This isn't that. They tried to pander to 4 audiences, and they failed at pandering to 4 audiences. Guys in suits, that's just sad. What's the lesson here? Don't pander to markets you don't understand. Actually research the culture you're trying to pander to. Don't tell little girls their accomplishments are only there because they were born special. No, I think the lesson of this movie is that this film sucks. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and tipping me on Ko-fi. Have a nice day.